Thanks, Gregor. Afternoon, Paul. What can you tell us about the lineup and any potential changes that might be made?
Helly's in net. Heinola will come in for Stanley. I got one question mark up front, but I won't. We'll look through warm-up before we decide on that one.
We'll go next to Paul Friesen from the Winnipeg Sun. Go ahead, Paul.
What's the thinking, Paul, on the Heinola for Stanley move?
I'm going to want to see Heinola and Ben in the next 6 get a handle on what they can do against those teams, what our pairs look like, what a match would look like. A little different tonight because they got a couple of guys out and we're on back-to-back, but we get into the playoffs, we're going to need them all. We'll probably they'll all play games, so we need to have a handle on who they fit with and who we match them up before we get there.
We'll go next to Mike McIntyre from the Winnipeg Free Press. Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks, Gregor. Afternoon, Paul. What's the conversation like with Logan Stanley? I take it it's not play related that takes him out of the lineup, but just a numbers game.
No, I liked his game. I liked his last game. It wasn't particularly the 2 prior weren't fabulous, but neither was anybody. And the night before, he got in a fight, and I didn't want to pull him out on that. I liked the way he's played. So it was just honest and direct. I told him I took him out. It wasn't based on his playing the last game. What the next couple of weeks are going to look like going forward, the competition that's there for that job.
We'll go next to Jason Bell from the Free Press. Go ahead, Jason.
Paul, what's the danger's the wrong word, but what's the danger, let's say, of when a guy like Matthews isn't in, the same as a McDavid or an Ovechkin, and where your club, a guy that takes so much focus away from your club?
I missed the first part of that. What? Do it again, please.
Am I good now? Yeah, no, I just when a guy like Matthews isn't in and he gets so much attention from your club, what is that? How does that affect things when he's not there?
Well, you just put that attention on someone else. Like, every team's got a guy, right? Every team's got their A line, the guys that, or on a particular night, a guy who's going. I don't think it changes a whole heck of a lot, to be honest with you. I mean, we're not going to run the bench differently because he's not in the lineup. We aren't going to be casual about the game because he's not in the lineup. Got lots of good players in their lineup, so we'll just try to shut those guys down.
Go back to Ken Weed. Go ahead, Weaver.
Paul, just would Kristian Vesalainen be the next forward up, or what can you tell us about that?
He'll be available tonight, yeah.
Okay, and then just one other quick one about Heinola. Because you guys have been away so much, how has he handled what's basically been almost a month between games?
Yeah, good. He's worked hard. He's worked on his game. It's a challenge for sure for these guys, and there'll be a we'll be aware of that when we assess his play. He's got to get in some games. We're going to need him, right? We've got 9, maybe 10 defensemen here. I won't get them all in games, but we've got to, it's almost, keep them ready, but it's more get a feel for how they look against the different styles of offense, right? Some guys skate real well, some guys are a little more physical, some guys move the puck really well. And we want to see them against those teams. But he's been good. Like that year, I didn't answer your question. He's worked hard. If he hadn't, I wouldn't put him in, right? If I didn't think that he had committed hard enough, or if he had pushed hard enough, or played, morning skates, practices, workouts after, we monitor all of it. He's earned an opportunity.
Go back to Mike McIntyre from the Free Press. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, Paul, just 2 Ville related questions. Is he just going to take Logan's spot with Dylan DeMello?
Yes.
And then just the value, I guess, of bringing him in against the top team in the division. I mean, is this strategic in the sense that you to see what he can do against a high-end, high-octane team like the Leafs?
Correct. The idea is we've got Toronto, we've got Edmonton, Montreal, Calgary that we play again, and we're going to want to see these defensemen against those teams. We want to win these games. So if a guy has a real tough time, you probably won't see him again against that team. But we want to see them against these teams specifically to give us a better assessment. This one, I'm not going to judge Ville too harshly or overweight it. If he gets a point or two, we're going to see a different team next week when they get all the guys they traded for in. And if they get healthy, Wheeler comes back in. This is 17 of 22 on the road for us on back-to-back. So I'm not, if Ville has a tough night, that's not an end of season performance for him. But those games when we get back, we'll weigh those out.
Just a couple more for Coach. We'll go back to Jason Bell from the Free Press. Go ahead, Jason.
Paul, a very rare off night for the reigning Vezina winner the other night. You wouldn't have a whole lot to say to him, but what is your expectation? He's had these bounce back moments where he just doesn't really string a couple of bad ones back together.
Yeah, I haven't thought about it. I haven't thought about my goalie since that game. We talked the next day. It was a really unusual one because if a goalie comes out and tells you he hated his game, he didn't play well, you usually shaky to start, gives up a bunch, and you either relieve him or, the game doesn't go his way. But if he had 2 pucks he didn't like, and he's maybe even that's him, he would want all of them. But the rest of his game was good, right? He had a couple of bad breaks of the pucks. I haven't thought about it. We expect him to be as he always is. When he's rested and when he's angry about a last performance, he's usually really darn good.
And final question to Paul Friesen from the Sun. Go ahead, Paul.
Thanks, Gregor. Ville Heinola related, but not just about Ville, Paul. How much are you going to learn about your team these next, if not so much tonight, but the 7 games after that?
I think we're going to learn more about hockey than necessarily our team, right? I think sometimes in the last 4 or 5 games of the season, you don't learn much. But this is going to be a positioning stretch, right? There's going to be something on the line in these games. So we think we're going to get a real good push from all the opponents. And then we want to push real hard too, right? So we're going to fight for it. So I think we're going to learn style of hockey that works against the team and style of hockey that doesn't, right? So we'll try to eliminate all the things that don't work. We'll try to get really good and solid at the things that do work. Each team is different challenges up front, different challenges on their blue line with the way they play. So and I think we've done, Paul, a pretty good job this year. We're kind of learning from our mistakes, learning from, things that didn't work well for us the next night. We've been able to address those pretty good in games. And that's what, and then they'll have the same opportunity too, right? We're all going to size each other up here in that next week. And then make the adjustments that we think we're going to need when we see each other. Calgary's back in the mix too, and we've got them. So we're going to see everybody we need to see. That might be, it's either, I guess it's even, right? But sometimes you think about our St. Louis series 2 years ago. We were done with them in, early January. We didn't see them for 3 months. At least with this, you're going to have seen the team that you're playing plenty of times to have a pretty good handle on what you do well with them.